Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. John Riggio joining us here, our architect extraordinaire. Welcome back today. And tennis pro, got to mention that, from New Jersey. Welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hi, Jill. How are you? I'm okay. Thank you.
I'm doing great. Good to see you back here today. Tell us a little bit about your career, what you do. I know it's a lot, but in short, you are an architect. I wish it was that, who's done many projects, who continues to work on many commercial residential projects. Tell us specifically a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I'm an architect. I have my own architect office. It's called John Riggio, RA Architect, LLC. I'm located here in Metuchen, New Jersey. And I am also licensed in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And I originally started making a lot of projects in New York City. And today I'm going to show you some samples of some projects from years ago. I have some interesting stories about working in the area. And so I think I can show you from there.
Perfect. Let's do it. Bring it on. And tell us the website, how we can reach out to you.
Yes, you can find me on my webpage. It is www.johnriggio.com, and that's spelled JOHNRIGGIO.
Perfect. All right, let's get started. Are you going to share the screen today? What are we going to see?
Yes, let me share the screen, and let me start off with some pictures. So let me get over to the folder over here. Okay, great. And let me just open this there, and let me share it. Okay, great, there it is. Okay, so I think I'm showing on the screen. Now, what's happening here is I was just starting out as my own office. And this is taking place since the year 1998 in New York City and Long Island.
Floral Park?
And this one here is no, that one isn't in Floral Park.
Okay, no, it just looks like it. That's I don't know what it is, but the structure itself.
Yes, what this particular photo is showing, this is a really one-story Tudor house that we made into a two-story Tudor house. So we kept the same old styling. They didn't want to have anything too contemporary, and really just put a whole second floor on this house, and it came out pretty good. And this is in Queens, New York. And this is the photograph of this as a finished job, putting a new front entrance on also. And so the job is pretty good, and it might involve some small alterations to the front entrance of the house. That's about it. And so at that time, when I was first starting out, one set of projects was I was working for a couple contractors, and they had two contractors, and then they referenced one of their cousins, and I was working on some jobs, and some of them over here were in the south part of Queens, New York, in different areas, and it causes spread into different areas around Queens, New York. But a lot of these particular jobs were from Rosedale, Queens Village, things like that, Cambria Heights. And then from here, this is one particular project. It shows here a house, and I think you see the neighbors' houses are one-story house. These are like Rambler style houses. They were built, looks like in the 50s. And the idea of this jobs were usually to add a second floor and also make it a separate legal apartment. So instead of a one-family house, it is now a two-family house. And we usually would add two doors, put a front entrance over this. And this is how it looks. This is just a basic addition. And these jobs also might involve renovating the first floor too, putting in new kitchen beds, things like that. Of course, each job had to have a new stair going to the second floor. And so these jobs I was working on from about 1998 to the year 2008. And I was working on a lot of these jobs. And I think this whole thing started as like a business venture from the
Mm-hmm.
contractors that I was working for. I initially started working on two subdivisions that were completed. I have photos of them here, and then this spread into doing some of these other jobs in Queens, New York, and so I worked on these, and this sort of took hold. A lot of people started adding onto the house, making it a two-family. They really liked it. Sometimes I would get a reference, sometimes they would call me directly, and so that's how this whole thing started going ahead, and this was somewhat successful. This is in surrounding areas, and this is the same idea. This is adding a second floor. This one here was very interesting. The neighbors' houses look very similar. Has this nice brick entrance, and we kept that brick entrance on this one and just sort of built around it. And then this
Yeah.
is another one. This is in Rosedale, New York. And this is a very nice house. It's a very large house. We built this whole thing. It was originally just a one-story Rambler type house, and now this is really much larger. This has very decorative with the double doors here, the nice terrace with a little balcony on the front here, and some nice arch windows. So this was a pretty good house also. Some of these houses also involved adding on to the rear of the house. There's usually an additional maybe 15 feet we could add onto the back of the house, or given the zoning of this property. And a lot of times I would build a steel structure with steel columns, some steel
Mm-hmm.
beams, and from that we'd have the wood frame on top of that, and that gave them a nice patio. They didn't really have to remove the patio. They kept the patio on some of the houses, and they just built over on the second floor. So that was one thing that was happening with these jobs. And so this is a picture showing the original houses that were there. This is one of the style houses. Some of them have hip roofs, some have gable end roofs, and this is how it looks here. And so this is these here. This is
Yeah. Oh.
another house that was um, sort of one of the jobs that sort of spread out into the surrounding areas. And this was very interesting because we did two family on this, and then it has the stairs here in the back with the bay windows and this nice glass roof. So that was another job here. Now this is also in Rosedale. This is another job that was originally a one-story Rambler, and we made it two stories. Put a lot of nice brick on this, and this is very nice balcony here with the entrance, the two doors, and this is has some nice windows on it. So this is pretty good. And then also same thing with this one, extending to the back of the house. I think if you look on this one, uh, you can see that this is extended on the second floor going back, and even has a little piece of a balcony facing the rear yard. So this is really is extending the house to the maximum square footage that's available there, and this came out pretty good. Okay, this is another one. This is a more simple addition. Same idea, just extending the house. And same thing with this. This is more simple. Some of them are just very simple. This one that has
Mm-hmm.
to drive it. So this is something new. Going back, this is 2010. So this is near the end of these kind of jobs, and this is starting to also have the drive it. This is another job, the same idea with some addition to the house and things like that. And this is another one that was really just a one-story small house. The original house was more like a Cape Cod style house. And this is also, if you look on the back on the left side, you see the steel beam, and this is the steel structure to
Mm-hmm.
cantilever the second floor, like 12 feet to the rear yard on this one. And then this is a one-story, one family house and two stories. And this is adding on to that whole house. So it's really same idea, maxing out the square footage, adding out, And this one, I really like this one, so I did another one around the corner on this. And then this is another similar type of house. This was a one-story house similar to the neighbor, adding on, making it a two-family. And then this is two houses that were part of a subdivision. These are
Mm-hmm.
completely new houses here. And I think one interesting thing about this house is this house was, same idea, was built really to max out the square footage. So this kind of house, they move and they don't have too much room to really make an addition under the present zoning code. And even the garage is sort of converted. Instead of
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
yes, instead of having the garage space in there, we're going with the basic code where you park the car in front of the house, and
Cool.
that first floor becomes an extra room.
Yeah, that's smart.
That is a livable room. And in this zone, they could always make this a two-family, but these are one-family houses. So this is another large second floor addition, renovating, adding the stairs, putting the two doors in. And this is very large. This is their piece of property was slightly larger, so they maxed out the square footage and it became a large, really almost looking like a 4 square type house where it's really just 4 equal sides. And that was a large job. And this is 2 pictures on this, and it also has the garage on the side and adding over the garage. So this is a very large job. And then this is another one overflow job that was just in the Queens area. Okay, now this is another one, a standard house. Well, this is a two-family house, and it has the 2 doors in the front. And I think one thing about this is the two family is really this one, I think they were using it for their extended family was living in here in this particular project. So they were related, but at any time in the future, of course, they could always rent them out separately. It's legal two-family, and that's what's happening on this house. So this is another large house in the same area in the south part of Queens area in Rosedale. And then this was another overflow job this went over into Brooklyn. This was just a new structure here. It's apartments with store on the first floor. This is in the same area also. This is in the area in south part of Queens. And I think the neighbors house you see, they have like a rambler. You see, it has a hip roof, 1 story. And this is the new design. We raise it up, put in the second floor with the columns. And you see on the right back, you can see a steel column. And you probably see a little piece of a steel beam. And that is the steel structure that is supporting this cantilever to the rear yard. So that's another one that's maybe going maybe 12 feet to the rear yard or something like that. And it is really maxing out the square footage, and they keep that rear yard area like it's a covered patio in the rear yard. So they can still use that for their own recreation, and they add on the square footage on the second floor. I think this one is getting more decorative again, using some nice driveway details on this job with some windows. And I think this job is near completion. They didn't put on the rest of the iron railing on the balcony, this on the front entrance here, so that worked out pretty good. This is another one. This is also starting to become much more decorative, more detailed. This is a much more expensive looking front facade on this house. Has the 2 doors. Same idea, is originally just a 1-story rambler. Now it's a two-family. The went with the nice brick on the front of this house and some columns. And this is also near the end of the completion where they're going to put in the railing here just to finish it off. And you see they have a sliding glass door on the second floor. So this is pretty good also. And this is another job. Let's see, this is same idea, two-family house with the addition. Okay, that's the new building. Okay, so let me stop the share. But I think one interesting thing about this set of jobs the whole time is so from the year 1998 to the year 2008, and then I think I had some final pictures showing even flowing into 2010. And the whole time I was working there, I was unaware that when I used to go up to the client's stoop to enter into the house. A lot of times there was like a tube, what they call a mailing tube for drawings. It was exactly the same as a mailing tube for drawings, and it was sitting there on the stoop. So when I would meet the client for the first time, I say, "What did you buy? Some drawings? You know, some sample drawings? Because I see you have a tube in the front stoop." And they say, "No, they didn't buy anything." And they tell me a lot of times that they had already talked to other contractors, other architects. They might have called the building department. So when they're talking to me, I might not have been the first one they talked to. And a lot of times I assume that they might have already been thinking about plans, because usually you can buy a set of mail order plans, and you get the plans and you look at them, and then you have to hire an architect to stamp the drawings or modify them. And so I thought that's what I was telling them. I thought, did you buy a set of plans already? That you had an idea of what you want to, show me? Do you want a certain type of plans and a layout of the house? And they said no. And so this went on for a long time. I think one interesting thing is the clients, they never told me over the course from year 1998 to past the year 2008 that a lot of these packages, they would turn out to be mail bombs. It was very strange. They were really mail bombs. And even one house that was in one of the surrounding neighborhoods from the area around Rosedale, I went to the client, and I they gave me a deposit for the job, and I started measuring the house. But when I entered into the house, there was another roll of mail drawing roll there. There was another a mailer roll sitting on their stoop. And it's like maybe only like a foot away from me. So I usually would just leave it there. I'd walk around it, go into the house. And while I'm measuring the house, the owner seems to go outside, and the package was removed. So I walk out of the house to leave. The owner is not there, and I look around, and I think the only thing I see was like the bomb squad driving away. It's like it was really unbelievable story.
I've heard about that. That is insane. Bomb
Yes, so
squad. I can't believe that people were doing that.
yes, so they never
I mean, it
told me
still
about it.
happens, but not like that.
Yes, yes, and I think in those neighborhoods I worked for a whole spectrum of different kinds of people, and every once in a while I noticed these packages that looked like a roll of drawings in a mail tube sitting on their porch. And I always thought the same thing, that, I always asked the same, did you buy a set of sample drawings? Did you look at them? They said no. So that was one
Wow.
very interesting thing that was happening over the years. And I think that situation that was happening with the mail bombs was in the newspaper. And I didn't really know what those things were until I read the article. And I read the article in the newspaper, and it explained that there were bombs being put around, and they weren't really sure what the reason was. But I was wondering why I always went there to get the job, and there was a mail bomb there. I don't know if there was any connection between the bombs and someone seeking to get a building permit, which is very strange. I don't know why the coincidence was that the day that I went there, that there was a bomb there, maybe during the last day or two, that something might have been sitting there. I think some of these houses, the owner didn't live at the residence there. They were just gonna improve the property. So when I was there, they just got there too. They weren't necessarily living in the house. So that was something very interesting. And I
Wow.
think I looked at some articles. I noticed I only found this old article. I couldn't find the article that I read about, but there was an article. Let me just share this. And I found this article, but it looks like this article was not the same article that I read, that I found out about these mail bombs. I just read about that this story with the bombs was already existing, which is very strange. and it wasn't really, it wasn't the same article. I'll have to look around to see if I could find it. I already checked some articles. I might have it someplace that I had printed it out. But that was the very interesting thing. So the whole time there was serious danger. And I heard that some of these bombs, they did go off on some of the people. I don't know how they went off. Somehow, if you were to move the package, it might explode. So
Mm-hmm.
that was really interesting. And yeah, but all those years, the clients in the area, they never told me one time that there was any danger, no any bombs or any, like when I pointed out the mailing roll of drawings sitting there on the stoop, that it was somehow a bomb. They never told me anything like that. So that was very interesting. So all those years I was right next to bombs that could explode, but I never knew what they were. So that was really strange. And then I think one thing about this is that this whole thing, it started to come to a stop in the year 2008. And I was able to get the clip from the Architect's Handbook. This is a handbook that architects can use to, let me get this here. Okay, this is it. And it says right here on the top, it says here with the T, the Great Depression that began in 2008. So I think it's saying here that it did really impact the design and construction industry pretty seriously, and that's what this paragraph is saying here. And so this here, explaining about people working in the industry and things like that. And that is really some interesting written proof that the 2008, the economy was really considered a Great Depression. So there was some changes there. My business did go through all kinds of changes. And then there was, at that time, my business was developing. I was doing some taller buildings. The building height was starting to increase, going up in height and working on jobs as high as 14 stories. So that's what was happening at that point. But this Great Depression 2008 did make a big problem for everyone working in the industry, and it really sort of caused a problem. So my business was changing over the years, and this Great Depression did cause a big problem. So that is some proof here. And so this book, the Architect's Handbook, is really good. This is yes, Architect's Handbook of Professional Practice. And so this was explaining some things. So it wasn't really just my idea about this whole thing, but looks like here it's showing here, I'm highlighting it. So this is the Great Depression of 2008. So that's what was happening there. So
Wow.
that, in fact, ended up stopping those jobs in that area of Queens, the Great Depression. Maybe it helped me. I think at the time, there was no way for me to know what those packages were. I don't know. The whole time I was somewhat out of danger. I think the only dangers really in construction as an architect is like maybe visiting mechanical rooms. There's asbestos in mechanical rooms. There's also visiting different buildings, houses. There's also possibility older buildings would have more things like black mold in there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's those kind of dangers are involved. But this whole thing with the mail bombs were really much more serious, and but I was lucky. Nothing really happened around me. Nothing.
Thank
I was
goodness.
lucky with that one.
Oh my gosh. Scary stuff. John Riggio. Wow. The work you do. Share how we could reach out to you. Unfortunately, we are out of time.
Yes, you can go to my webpage at www.johnriggio.com, and there you'll see samples of my work. You'll see a description of my services. I have my contact information there. And if anyone's interested in hiring me as an architect, they can just give me a call, send an email, and I can discuss working on their project.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And again, pleasure always having you here. My favorite architect friend. I feel like you're a friend. You know, I'm on Long Island, you're in New Jersey, not too far, but we used to be in the same hoods in New York. Call it the hoods over there. I miss Queens. I miss over there. And you've done some amazing projects out there too, let alone Long Island and the city and everywhere else. But always a pleasure having you here. And for some reason, when I was at LaGuardia Airport last week, I passed Flushing, the where the U.S. Open is, and I thought of you. I'm like, that's my tennis pro friend. Yeah, he used to play there. It makes me think of the videos you showed me, the pictures you showed me. Always have great stories and a great life. And thank you for sharing that with us. And we will see you soon. Thank you so much. What'd you say?
Thank you. Goodbye.
Oh, thank you. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.